Welcome back, children, to this third and last part of the video for the chapter The Rat Trap. So let's continue. So as I have already told you that Iron Master met the rat trap seller in the iron mill and tried to persuade him so that he could accompany the Iron Master to his home for the Christmas celebration. But due to his own problems, the rat trap seller or the peddler refused. Then the Iron Master left from there. But the blacksmith knew that the Iron Master has not said his last words. It means something is there which is going to happen very soon. And it was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge, and a new guest came in. But this time it was not the Iron Master. He had sent his daughter, apparently hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion than he himself. She entered followed by a valet carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest and quite shy. In the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening. The master blacksmith and his apprentice still sat on their bench, and iron and charcoal still glowed in the furnace. So, children, half an hour later, the sound of carriage wheels was heard outside the forge. And it was the Iron Master's daughter who entered there, and she was followed by a valet, actually a driver, and carrying a big fur coat. The girl introduced herself as Edla Wilmenson, the daughter of Iron Master. She noticed that the man was afraid. She thought that either he had stolen something or else he had escaped from jail. So, while she entered, she didn't look very beautiful, but she seemed modest and shy. And in the forge, the master blacksmith and his apprentice, means Zenstorm and the boy, they both were sitting on the bench. And iron and charcoal was glowing in the furnace. The stranger had stretched himself out on the floor and lay with a piece of pig iron under his head and his hat pulled down over his eyes. As soon as the young girl caught sight of him, she went up and lifted his hat. The man was evidently used to sleeping with one eye open. He jumped up abruptly and seemed to be quite frightened. So the peddler, rat trap seller, or vagabond. Children, vagabond is a person who roams here and there without any reason. So he was lying on the floor, and a piece of pig iron was under his head to work as a pillow, and he had put his hat over his eyes. As soon as he saw the young girl, he lifted his hat. And the man used to sleep with one eye open. Children, sleeping with one eye open means, suppose you have done something wrong, or you are very curious. In that case, you can't sleep tightly, or you can't have a nice and free sleep, as this man was a criminal and he had to be aware all the time. That's why this phrase has been used here, sleeping with one eye open. So it means be very attentive. So as he saw the girl, he jumped up abruptly and saw that girl was standing there, and he was very frightened. The girl said, "My name is Edla Wilmenson. My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forest tonight. and then I asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I'm so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a hard time. She looked at him compassionately with her heavy eyes, and then she noticed that the man was afraid. Either he has stolen something or else he has escaped from jail, she thought, and added quickly, "You may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. Only, please stay with us over Christmas Eve." She said this in such a friendly manner that the rat trap peddler must have felt confidence in her. So, children, half an hour later, when the sound of carriage wheels was heard outside the forge, the ironmaster's daughter came there, followed by a valet carrying a big fur coat. She introduced herself as Edla Wilmington. She noticed that the man was afraid. She thought that either he had stolen something or else he had escaped from jail. She, however, assured that he would be allowed to leave them just as freely as he had come. She addressed him as Captain, and requested him to stay with them over Christmas Eve. And she said all these things in such a friendly manner that the rat trap peddler agreed to go with her. The fur coat was thrown over his rags and followed the young lady to the carriage. On the way, the peddler thought why he had taken the fellow's money. He was sitting in the trap and would never get out of it. So while the peddler or the rat trap seller or the vagabond was going along with the girl, he thought why he had stolen the money. Now he is falling into the trap and he would be handed over to the police. "It would never have occurred to me that you would bother me with me yourself, miss," he said. "I will come at once." So the peddler is giving his acceptance. He accepted the fur coat which the valet handed him with a deep bow. So the girl had brought a fur coat also, and threw it over the rags and followed the young lady out to the carriage without granting the astonished blacksmiths so much as a glance. But while he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings. Evil forebodings means he was thinking bad. Forebode means to think or to predict the future. Why the devil did I take the fellow's money? He thought. Now I am sitting in the trap and I will never get out of it. So this was the thinking of the peddler. The next day was Christmas Eve, and when the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade, whom he had run across so unexpectedly. "First of all, we must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones," he said to his daughter, who was busy at the table. "And then we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling rat traps." So next day was Christmas Eve, and the ironmaster, as he had recognized him to be his old regimental comrade, so he felt satisfied and talked with his daughter of feeding the peddler. And then later on, he thought that he would give him some kind of honorable job. "It is queer that things have gone downhill with him as badly as that," said the daughter. "Last night I did not think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man." "You must have patience, my little girl," said the father. "As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different. Last night he was naturally embarrassed. The tramp manners will fall away from him with the tramp clothes." Just as he said this, the door opened and the stranger entered. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. Moreover, he was dressed in a good-looking suit of clothes which belongs to the ironmaster. He wore a white shirt and a starched collar and whole shoes. So the next day was Christmas Eve, and the ironmaster came to the dining room for breakfast. He thought of his old regimental comrade whom he had met so unexpectedly. He felt satisfied and talked of feeding him well. and giving him some honorable job. His daughter remarked that last night she did not notice anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man. The ironmaster asked her to have patience and let him get clean and dressed up. Then she would see something different. The tramp manners would fall away from him and he will become a gentleman. Just then the stranger entered in a good-looking suit of clothes, a white shirt with a starched collar and whole shoes. Although he was well groomed, the ironmaster did not seem happy. He realized that he has made a mistake. And what was the mistake last night? Because in now clear daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. The stranger made no attempt to dissemble. Means the stranger did not try to defend himself. He explained that it was not his fault. He had never pretended to be anything but a poor trader. He had requested the ironmaster to let him stay in the forge. He was ready to put on his rags and go away. So the ironmaster recognized him to be a different person. What does this mean? He thundered. The stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. "It is not my fault, sir," he said. "I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forge. But no harm has been done. At worst, I can put on my rags again and go away." "Well," said the ironmaster, hesitating a little. "It was not quite honest either. You must admit that, and I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in the matter." The tramp took a step forward and struck the table with his fist. "Now I am going to tell you, Mr. Ironmaster, how things are," he said. "This whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese rinds and bits of pork, set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes now and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Ironmaster, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you will get caught in the rat trap." The ironmaster began to laugh. So the rat trap seller or the peddler was recognized by the ironmaster, but then the rat trap seller did not pretend. He explained that it was not his fault. He had never pretended to be anything but a poor trader. Now, rat trap seller introduced himself to be a poor trader, but actually he was not trader. He was a rat trap seller and a thief also. He had requested the ironmaster to let him stay in the forge. He was ready to put on his rags and go away. Then the rat trap seller said, "Sir, I didn't ask you to take me along with you. I wanted to stay in the forge and then go away." The ironmaster thought that no, it was not good on the part of the rat trap seller, and he wanted to call the police. Sheriff means police. The tramp then told the ironmaster that the whole world was nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that were offered to him were nothing but cheese rinds and bits of pork, and those things were like allurings to allure this rat trap seller so that he may fall into the rat trap. So the sheriff may lock him up for this. He warned the ironmaster by putting a fist on the table. "Sir, today you are handing me over to the sheriff, but one day will come when you also will get a big piece of pork, and then you would be caught in the trap." Now the ironmaster began to laugh. "That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve. But now get out of here as fast as you can. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that, she went and closed the door. So now the iron master asked the rat trap seller, who pretended to be a poor trader, that just leave the door and move out from here. But suddenly the daughter entered and asked her father what he was doing. That morning she was quite happy, and she wanted to make things for the wretched. This wretched word is from wretched. It means a poor dirty fellow. So she said that I wanted to make things for this poor dirty fellow. So she spoke in favor of the vagabond, and she wanted him to enjoy a day of peace with them, just one in the whole year. She knew that there was a mistake, but they should not chase away a human being whom they asked to come there and promised Christmas cheer. So the girl said that we should not leave the man to whom we have promised the Christmas cheer. So these things are there. So the girl asked the father, what are you doing? The otter stood there quite embarrassed and hardly knew what to answer. The morning she had felt so happy when she thought how home-like and Christmassy she was going to make things for the poor hungry wretch. She could not get away from the idea all at once, and that was why she had interceded for the vagabond. I am thinking of this stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcome and can feel at home. Whenever he turns, he is chased away. Always he is afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace with us here, just one in the whole year. So the daughter wanted the man to stay with them. The ironmaster mumbled something in his beard. He could not bring himself to oppose her. It was all a mistake, of course. She continued, but anyway, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we have asked to come here and to whom we have promised Christmas cheer. You do preach worse than a parson, said the ironmaster. I only hope you won't have to regret this. The young girl took the stranger by the hand and led him up to the table. Now sit down and eat, she said, for she could see that her father had given in. The man with the rat traps said not a word. He only sat down and helped himself to the food. Time after time, he looked at the young girl who had interceded for him. Why had she done it? What could the crazy idea be? So the young girl then let the stranger sit on the table and asked him to eat. The man did not say a word, but helped himself to the food. He started eating food, and he looked at the girl and wondered why she had intervened for him. He was not clear why the girl was helping her. After that, Christmas Eve at Ramzo passed just as it always had. The stranger did not cause any trouble because he did nothing but sleep. The whole forenoon he lay on the sofa in one of the guest rooms and slept at one stretch. At noon they woke him up so that he could have his share of the good Christmas fare. But after that he slept again. It seemed as though for many years he had not been able to sleep as quietly and safely as here at Ramzo. In the evening, when the Christmas tree was lighted, they woke him up again and he stood up for a while in the drawing room, blinking as though the candlelight hurt him. But after that he disappeared again. 2 hours later, he was aroused once more. He then had to go down into the dining room and eat the Christmas fashion porridge. So the young girl asked the stranger to sit on the table and asked him to eat. The man did not say a word, but he was queer enough, or he was curious enough. Now the Christmas Eve passed at Ramzo just as it always had. Means the Christmas evening passed like usual. The stranger did not cause any trouble because he did nothing but sleep. They woke him up that he could have his meals in the evening. The Christmas tree was lighted. 2 hours later, he was around once again to eat the Christmas feast and porridge. After getting up from the table, he went around and said thank you and good night to everyone present. The girl told him that the suit he wore was to be a Christmas present and he did not have to return it. If he wanted to spend the next Christmas Eve in peace, he would be welcomed back again. The man with the rat traps did not answer. He only stared at the young girl in limitless amazement. So as soon as they got up from the table, he went around to each one present and said thank you and good night. But when he came to the young girl, she gave him to understand that it was her father's intention that the suit which he wore was to be the Christmas present. Means after feeding the rat trap seller or the peddler, the girl presented him a suit which his father wanted to present to the peddler, and there is no need for the peddler to return him. And then the girl asked that if in next Christmas Eve, if he want to be with them, he is always welcome. The man with the rat traps did not answer, but he was surprised. The next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter got up in good season to go to the early Christmas service. Their guest was still asleep, and they did not disturb him. When at about 10 o'clock they drove back from the church, the young girl sat and hung her head even more. Dejectedly than usual. At church, she had learnt that one of the old crofters of ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. So the next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter got up early and went to Christmas service. And they did not want to disturb the guest, so they did not say to him anything. They came back from the church at about 10 o'clock, and the young girl was hanging her head down because she came to know in the church that one of their old crofter of the ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. The ironmaster feared that the man might have stolen many silver spoons from the cupboard. Yes, there was a fine fellow relative in the house, said her father. I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time. So when the girl came to know that one of their old crofter had been looted of 30 kroners, she came, and that was a rat trap seller. The girl came to know that the person who is staying with them as guest is the same person. And now the father was a little bit annoyed, and he said to his daughter, yes, that was a very nice fellow. You allowed to stay at home, and I'm sure now no silver spoon would be there in the cupboard now. The wagon had hardly stopped at the front steps when the ironmaster asked the valet whether the stranger was still there. He added that he had heard at church that the man was a thief. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package which Miss Wilmanson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. The young girl opened the package, which was so badly drawn by that the contents came into view at once. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small rat trap, and in it lay 3 wrinkled 10-kroner notes. But that was not all. In the rat trap lay also a letter written in the large, jagged characters. So the ironmaster feared that the man might have stolen many silver spoons from the cupboard. And as the wagon stopped at the front steps, the ironmaster asked the valet about the stranger, and the valet told them that the stranger had left, means the rat trap seller had gone away, and he had not taken anything with him at all, but he has left a package for Miss Wilmanson as a Christmas present. While the girl opened the package, it was badly done, means the packing was so worse that everything was visible, and she cried out of joy because she found a little rat trap inside the packing. And then there were 3 wrinkled 10 kroner notes, means 30 kroner money was there. And not only that, he had written a letter also. And what was written in the letter? Honorable and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return as if I was a real captain. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief. You can give back the money to the old man on the roadside who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself. Written with friendship and high regard, Captain Von Stale. So the letter could be summarized like this, that it was addressed to the Edla Wilmington, and he did not want her, or he means that Trapseller did not want the Edla to be embarrassed by a thief, but he wanted to act as a captain because he was act as captain, and he requested her to return the money to the old man on the roadside who had money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for the poor wanderers. The rat trap was a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not raised to be captain. So the man considered himself to be Captain Von Stale because at last he has signed as written with the friendship and high regard, Captain Von Stale. So, and he said that please return the money to the crofter because he has kept that money as a bait for poor wanderers. Bait means chara. And this Christmas present is from a rat who would have caught in the world's rat trap. Means he would have been caught into the world's rat trap, but he escaped because he has been raised to the captain. And who made him rose to the position of captain? The girl. Because now in that way he has got the power to clear himself. Means indirectly the man or the rat trap seller or the peddler or the vagabond is promising that he would now act as a nice man, and it was his promise. So children, now that's all in this video, and now you can understand that if we behave nicely even with a distracted person or a criminal exactly, he would come up to us in return in a nice manner. So the behavior of a person towards others make him a good person, and he gets good in return. So this is the entire story about this chapter, and the theme I have already told you, that in every person there lies a good man, whether from outside he is bad, but the only need is to awaken that good man. Children, that's all in this video. Hope you understand, and for any queries please contact. Thank you.